you ever notice how different the world feels after midnight? The air hangs heavier. Every sound seems amplified. The hum of a fridge, a floorboard settling, the far-off groan of traffic. It's like the world exhales, and for a few hours, you're left alone with everything that hides in the dark. Welcome back to the Vile Echoes. Tonight, I have 3 real confessions from people who say their late-night experiences never left them. These aren't ghost stories or urban legends. They're what happens when the dark decides to look back. Stay until the end, because the last story might make you check your car before you drive home tonight. It started as an ordinary night, a quiet walk home, something to clear my head after another long shift. The kind of walk you take when you don't want to be inside your own thoughts yet. But sometimes, the places that feel peaceful during the day become something else entirely when the streetlights come on. I was 28 and living alone in a small apartment by the river. My window overlooked a walking path that ran beneath a rusted railway bridge. By day it was harmless. Joggers, cyclists, dog walkers. But at night, the water turned black. The lamps flickered, and the bridge looked like a mouth-swallowing sound. I worked evenings at a restaurant a few blocks away. The job was loud, full of clanging pans and kitchen chatter, so walking home in silence was my way of resetting. Most nights I passed the bridge without a second thought, until one night in early spring. The air was wet from earlier rain, the path slick and quiet. Halfway down the slope toward the bridge, I saw a tiny orange flicker underneath, like a lighter being flicked, then cupped, then extinguished. Someone was down there. I figured maybe a homeless guy, no big deal. But when I stepped beneath the arch, the light snapped out immediately. Then a man's voice echoed from the dark. Calm. Flat. Don't stop walking. My heart froze. It wasn't angry or scared, just deliberate, like someone delivering instructions. I didn't respond. I just kept moving, footsteps echoing against concrete. The air under the bridge was colder, unnaturally cold, and thick with the smell of rust and damp stone. Halfway through, I risked a glance behind me. In the shadows near the water, 2 shapes separated from the dark. One standing still, the other crouched low. Something long and metallic glinting between his hands. A pipe, maybe, or a knife. I didn't run. I just walked faster, keeping my head down. When I finally cleared the other side of the bridge, I turned once and saw the standing figure take 2 slow steps forward. The crouched one stayed frozen. The next morning, there was police tape near the bridge and 2 patrol cars by the river. A man in a jacket told me someone had been found in the water. Early 30s, no ID. He said, probably fell. But one of the officers kept staring into the shadowed underpass, like he was waiting for something to move. Later that week, a detective came by the restaurant, asking about the night I'd walked home. When I told him about the voice, he didn't interrupt once. He just asked, "Exact words?" I said, "Don't stop walking." He wrote it down, nodded once, and said, "You did the right thing." A few nights later, I was half asleep when I heard it. A soft whistle outside my window. 2 notes, rising, then falling. Then silence. A few seconds later, an answering whistle. Farther away. I sat up, pulse pounding. My window looked out toward the river. I didn't dare check. I still live in that town. I still pass that bridge sometimes in daylight. But I never go near it after dark. Because when I do, I swear I can still hear that voice echoing through the concrete. Calm and patient as ever. Don't stop walking. They say silence is safe, that quiet means peace. But silence can also mean something's listening. Our next story happens in the one place we all feel safest, our own home. Only this time, the danger wasn't outside. It was right above. When I was in college, I lived in a crumbling brick apartment building that always smelled faintly of dust and old wood. My unit was on the 2nd floor. Cheap, small, but enough. The one above me was supposed to be vacant, under renovation, according to the landlord. For the first month it was quiet. Then, one night around 2:30 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps above my bed. Slow, steady, deliberate. Heel, toe, turn, repeat. It went on for 20 minutes before stopping dead. The sudden silence was worse than the noise. I texted my landlord the next morning. Thought upstairs was empty. Hearing footsteps at night. He replied, "Old building. Sound carries." I wanted to believe him, but the next night the footsteps returned earlier, followed by the groan of furniture scraping across the floor. It vibrated through my light fixture until the pull chain swayed. I started recording audio while I slept. The first few nights were uneventful, until one file. Around 4:07 a.m., the faintest whisper came through the static. "He's awake." It wasn't a voice in the distance. It was right above the mic, like someone speaking through the ceiling. The next morning, I met my landlord in person. He agreed to unlock the upstairs unit so I could see for myself. The air inside was stale and cold. Dust blanketed the floor. Sunlight falling in clean rectangles through cracked blinds. Empty. Completely empty. I noticed a square patch in the center of the floor where the dust had been disturbed. The outline of a dresser or cabinet, maybe. "No one's in here," he said, half laughing. "See?" But I couldn't stop staring at that clean patch. That night I tried to sleep in my living room. Around 3 a.m. the pacing started again. Slower this time. Moving from the area above my kitchen to the bathroom, then directly above the closet. A faint tick sounded. Bits of plaster falling onto the floor. Then something creaked. The small panel above my closet shifted slightly, just enough to let a sliver of air move through. I didn't wait. I grabbed my keys and left the apartment, sitting outside until dawn, wrapped in my jacket. The street was quiet, peaceful, too peaceful. A week later, I moved out, left the deposit behind. I didn't care. 2 months later, I ran into the landlord at the grocery store. He looked nervous, maybe guilty. "We found someone," he said. He'd been staying in the upstairs unit, coming and going through a hole in the floor under a dresser. He hesitated. "The hole led straight into your closet ceiling." I still have that audio recording. When I play it, I can hear my own slow breathing under the whisper. And every time the recording ends, I wonder if there's another version, one I never heard, from the other side of the ceiling. Sometimes, what's waiting above you is terrifying. But what if the thing watching you isn't above or behind? It's right there with you, hidden in plain sight. Our final story is a reminder that even the most ordinary moments, like driving home after work, can turn into something you never forget. I used to work overnight shifts at a hospital. 12 hours surrounded by machines, patients, and the faint smell of antiseptic. By the time I clocked out around 3 a.m., the world felt deserted. Just me, the echo of my footsteps, and the hum of fluorescent lights still ringing in my ears. My apartment complex was quiet at that hour. The lot was half lit, rows of parked cars glinting under tired lamps. The air felt heavy, and the sprinklers hissed like static. One night, I parked in my usual spot under a flickering light. Near the dumpsters at the far end stood a man, motionless, facing the lot. I assumed he was maintenance, but the second I stepped out, I realized he wasn't facing the lot. He was facing me. I locked my car, slung my backpack, and walked fast toward the stairs. Gravel crunched behind me, slow, measured, perfectly in rhythm with my steps. When I reached the door, I looked back. He was closer now, hands at his sides, still walking. I got inside, slammed the door and locked it. Through the peephole, nothing, just the empty lot again. The next morning, I found a folded note under my windshield wiper. "Next time, let me help you with the door." The handwriting was neat, careful, almost polite. I showed it to the property manager. She checked the security footage and froze. "You should see this," she said. On the screen, I watched myself park, get out, and walk away. Then, a few seconds later, the rear passenger door of my car opened. A man slipped out, closed it quietly, and followed me toward the building. He hadn't come from the lot. He had been in my car. I stopped driving for days. When I finally did, I checked the back seat before every shift. I even started folding the seats down to see into the trunk. 2 weeks later, another note appeared. "Missed you." That was the last one. Maybe he saw the new dash cam I installed. Maybe he moved on. But every night since, before I start my car, I check the mirror. Because once you've seen someone crawl out of the dark from behind your seat, you never really stop checking. The scariest part about these stories isn't what was seen. It's what was almost missed. A voice under a bridge. Footsteps above your ceiling. A breath too close in the dark. If tonight's confessions kept you on edge, make sure you're subscribed to the Vile Echoes, because the next sound you hear after midnight might not be the wind. Until next time, sleep lightly.